Hello friends and my lovely viewers. Welcome back to the channel of Neon Safe. Today we will discuss which traits to put on our Floralia champions. Let's get started.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. I'm tired of shit.
The first trait slot of both male and female Floralia is occupied by their clan trait. Our clan trait is called Healing Resonance, and it is based on increasing the healing received by all allies whenever our wielder of this trait deals damage. I'd say we may consider this Healing Resonance trait to be the perfect addition for our healer-based teams. Perhaps placing it in teams with, for instance, male Water and Sun, and the female of this specific clan, may help to amplify their healing effects, making them even better in battle. Our clan trait is kinda unique and it may be very useful in some team comps and whatnot, but it is very reliant on having at least one healer in our team. If we do not have a single champion with a healer ability, this clan trait would not have any effect at all. Anyways, if we were to rate this clan trait, I believe it may land on a solid A tier due to the limitations and current meta. In the future it may risk dropping down to a B tier, since new champions are coming up constantly and the meta could change. Unlike our brutal and aggressive traits that are more likely to stay relevant due to our constant need of strength, we may not need a trait to buff healing effects in the future if our healer suddenly becomes less relevant. Now that we have talked about our clan trait, let us move on to the main event. Our male Floralia is a crowd control type of champion, who also debuffs the opponent and lands buffing effects on allies. He is not much of a DPS champion as he doesn't rely on strength too much. Only his ultimate skill is dependent on strength to deal damage. We can technically place strength buffing traits onto him, but it may not create a massive impact since both his active skill and passive skill do not need strength to function. In our second trait slot, we may try Brutal just for the sake of his ultimate skill. A level 22 Brutal trait will increase his strength by 45%. This allows us to deal more damage in the ultimate skill, both when we first strike the opponent, and when the enemies are stuck in the crowd control ability of our ultimate skill. Additionally, our extra load of strength also increases the strength cap of our active skill, ensuring we can properly utilize it. We can put some other trait instead, if we do not want to invest any DPS-like traits onto him, but my personal opinion is that we should not do that. Skipping Brutal may end up being a waste of his potential, and it's a little bit sad if that was to happen. We should not place any more strength-boosting traits onto him though, since that may only take up unnecessary slots that could be used for greater buffs or greater abilities. For our third slot, we may want to consider a defensive-based trait. Our trait called Honorable may be our best pick as it will give us a 25% damage reduction. I am suggesting this trait for our male Floralia mainly because of his passive skill. Our champion needs to be able to take damage often, for our healing effects to receive a 57% buff. If we properly protect our Floralia champion, we can place him in the risky spot on the battlefield without worrying about him dying. He will take damage, then consume a stack of Vita Mark to gain 9% extra damage reduction and also gain either the healing effect bonus or the dodge bonus. Gaining the healing effect bonus may be more beneficial for our team in general, so we may want him to take damage before he can gain the Vita Marks back. And for that to happen, we require him to be durable. Our fourth slot could be filled up with our trait called Energy Regen. A level 22 Energy Regen will give us 240 energy points when we take active skill or ultimate attack damage. And the cooldown is 8 seconds. I feel like this trait may be very compatible together with our male Floralia's passive skill. As we will already allow this champion to take damage, we may want to profit some extra energy from it. Our ultimate skill may become our most important asset, and thus our increased energy will allow us to launch it more often. The fifth and final slot can be flexible, but I suggest we try out the trait called Sanguine. This trait gives us a team buff, which will at level 22 increase the damage of all our champions by 2% every 2 seconds, up to 20%. It mostly works wonderfully if we do not beat the opponent immediately, but rather need some time to knock them all down. If our battles are super quickly finished, then we may not want this type of trait. I believe Sanguine may be compatible with our Floralia because it gives our entire team an advantage whenever our male Floralia takes damage. And since the enemy mostly will be having their healing effects and DPS power debuffed, our Sanguine trait may be a great advantage for our allies to deal more damage on top of everything. That being said about our male Floralia, let us take a closer look at our female counterpart. She mostly acts like a DPS and debuffer. All her skills deal damage including the passive skill, which is quite impressive to be honest. We may want to build her up in the DPS route, and avoid placing team buffing traits or defensive traits onto her. Unlike our male Florelia, our female is very dependent on our amount of strength. So we may want to have more than one strength buffing trait, to properly utilize her each and every skill. For our second trait slot, we may want to place our trait called Brutal. At trait level 22, we will gain a 45% increase in strength. This will be a very important trait if we want to build her to be the DPS she is. In our female Florelia's third trait slot, we could try out the trait called Fierce. This one gives our champion a 25% increase in total damage output. It is one of our best traits to use on DPS champions, and I feel like this may suit her skills perfectly. It is important we boost up her damage output as much as possible, so nothing goes to waste. And since her active, passive, and ultimate skill all have strength-related damage output effects, we can place multiple damage-boosting traits onto her. For the fourth slot, we can place a trait to increase her energy gain. A trait like that could be either the one called Focused, or the one called Energy Regen. It kinda depends on how fast we finish our battles, and if we allow our female champion to be struck by attacks or not. If we believe our fights take less than 10 seconds, we may want to go for Focused. At level 22, we will gain a 30% increase in energy gain rate for 10 seconds. It may not be our most favorite energy boosting trait, but it kinda gets the job done and it doesn't require our trait wielder to take damage or anything. On the other hand, Energy Regen will at level 22 give us 240 energy points, whenever our female Florelia takes active or ultimate skill damage. The cooldown is 8 seconds. Our Energy Regen is more suitable for if we take damage, and it may not be entirely suitable for our DPS focused champion. Especially not if we discover our champion to be squishy. So, it is a little bit hard finding the perfect energy gaining trait for a champion that mainly is dealing damage, but this may do well enough. The reason why I believe we should place an energy boosting trait onto our female Florelia is mainly because of her ultimate skill. She will need a lot of energy to strike the enemy as many times as possible. Her ultimate skill's damage output is completely reliant on her energy, and we don't want to waste a whole skill by not having enough energy to even launch it. From reading the description of her ultimate skill, it also seems like she doesn't have a limit of how many arrows she can launch. So her only official limit is her energy. In our final and fifth slot, we should place a trait to increase Florelia's defenses. Our trait called Honorable will at level 22 give our Florelia champion a 25% increase in damage reduction. This serves as a layer of protection, and it may be very important if she is standing in the spotlight a lot. With a high DPS output, she easily becomes a target, and we may consider it a good enough reason to give her this trait. It is entirely up to each and one of us which trait we want for her, but I'll also hand out other suggestions of traits, in case we are not satisfied yet. Honorable is also great if we want her to receive some damage for the Energy Regen trait to function. But if we feel kinda bold, and we do not want to give her this type of protection, then we may swap our Honorable with the Aggressive trait. Aggressive will at level 22 make each attack increase our strength by 2%, and it goes up to 20%. Placing Aggressive onto our Florelia will make her a complete DPS focused champion, who only cares about dealing damage. I believe it can be a great trait comp, if we have allies to launch healing effects and shields onto our Florelia. Then we won't have to worry too much about her defenses, and we can totally use her for damage output. Do keep in mind, Aggressive will only be properly beneficial to us if she deals damage quickly. If she launches attacks with the speed of a turtle, then we may not want to use this trait in particular. I doubt it will be the case, but I just felt like it may be worth mentioning it regardless. That all being said, do keep in mind that these are just my own personal opinions and suggestions of trait comps that may function well on our Florelia clan. There may be other variations or options of trait comps that also work really well, so feel free to explore and choose the traits however you want to. There is no need to follow this exact guide, and since we all have different types of teams, we should try to think for ourselves a little as well. Anyways, we may still feel a little bit unsure about this clan in general, since some of us are having a great experience while others are regretting their summons. This may be a matter of our team comp, since these champions are not meant for all teams. It can be particularly tricky making male Florelia feel at home in our team since he is so versatile. And as for our female champion, she is very dependent on who our opponent is, and we may not be as lucky every time we enter a battle. As for now, it is very difficult to rank this clan, since they are so unpredictable and all, but with our current information they could climb up to an A tier if we know exactly how to use them to our advantage in battle. But if we use them wrongly or if we are very unlucky, they may fall completely down to a D tier. And this is why I honestly do not feel like summoning for this clan. I have also noticed how the male and female Floralia are kinda counteracting each other. While our female relies on the enemy's healing effects to deal damage and place debuffing effects, our male counterpart is relying on his own allies to launch healing effects, for him to use his special buffing and debuffing effects. So if male Floralia comes face to face in a battle against female Floralia, it is almost as if they will drag each other down equally in a nullifying behavior. So we are kinda given the problem and the solution within the same clan, if that makes sense. But whether we want the female or male champion for our team, is up to each and one of us. They may reach the high tier if we build them up correctly in the right team, and against the right opponents. So we may find them to be somewhat useful if we have all the resources needed. As for their clan trait, it can be useful but only if we have a team with healers. Without healers, our clan trait is unfortunately completely useless. Anyways, I think we have covered the topic of today. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions or thoughts you would like to share with us, feel free to comment below. To partake in our giveaways, subscribe to the channel. You may also leave a like or share the video with your friends, if you feel like it. We highly appreciate your support and contribution. Have an amazing day and we will see you in the next one. Take care, stay foxy, adios, bye.